Breaking news, the New York Islanders have made some sneaky good signings. This is going to have serious implications on both the NHL roster next season as well as the AHL, which is something fans know desperately needs to improve for the Islanders. We're going to discuss it on this episode of Islanders Digest and what this means for the team going into free agency, because a lot is going to change on this Islanders roster in the next few days. We really don't know what this team is going to look like next season. I think Mathew Barzal made it very clear when he traded Noah Dobson that the players on this current team are not as safe as we thought they were earlier in the offseason. Really quickly, before we get to these signings, we noticed that 66% of you who watch these videos have not yet subscribed to the channel. So if you're an Islander fan, you want more Islanders content just like this, what are you waiting for? It's free. Be sure to subscribe for more daily Islanders content. Again, in this offseason, it's really been more than daily. I've been posting 2 to 3 videos a day as more and more just comes out about the Islanders. They're really one of the most interesting teams this offseason, especially with Mathew Barzal making his stamp on this team earlier rather than waiting a year like many GMs do. And I really appreciate what he's done. And one thing he is also doing is bringing back several key RFAs, and I think this is a really sneaky move for the Islanders that might have a bigger implication for the NHL this season than fans really think at this time. Stefan Rosner has reported that the Islanders have announced that Liam Foody and Julien Gauthier have both signed 1-year, 2-way contracts for the Islanders. And I do want to clarify here, I think there's a lot of misconception when it comes to what a 2-way contract is. 2-way contract does not mean these players can go up and down from the NHL to the AHL without getting claimed. Yes, these players can both play in the NHL. They can both be sent down to the AHL. But if they are sent down, they are going to have to clear waivers. And as the NHL has clarified now, if you do send a player down, they have to officially report. There is no longer any of this Lamoriello stuff where he sends players down and just has them practice and then calls them up the next day. That is no longer going to be a thing. So that's going to be something to keep an eye out on. But when it comes to these two players, one of them in particular really grabs my attention as somebody who can really get a bigger role on the Islanders next season. Both these guys played games in the NHL last year. I honestly think they might have played more games if it wasn't for the weird cap situation the Islanders were in, where they had no money to call anyone else up, especially after they signed Tony DeAngelo, because I really think these guys deserved a bigger look, especially at the end of the year when stuff starts to fall apart. Again, it didn't happen, but it's good that they're coming back, and with these 2-way contracts, they have a little more certainty on what they're going to be earning next season, and I really hope that they get a bit of a look when it comes to the NHL this training camp for the Islanders. I definitely think there are going to be more spots open than people say. I think this tryout is going to be very interesting for the Islanders to see who makes this team. It'll be interesting to see, too, if the Islanders move out any other players going into the offseason. A lot of teams are desperate right now for NHL caliber talent. It's a weird year where none of these teams seem to be selling, and as a result, while I don't think the Islanders are going to be moving any more big pieces, you never know if more spots are going to be opening, especially as free agency dries up. I don't know how active the Islanders are going to be. In addition, that can really throw a wrench into everything we're talking about right now. But as Stefan Rosner has talked about, these players are both really fast. And I think they add an element that the Islanders are really lacking in the bottom 6 if they do make the team. And if not, this is an element that needs to be in Bridgeport, in addition to their leadership. While Bridgeport was an absolute disaster last season, and I can't emphasize how bad the Bridgeport Islanders were, it was not because of Julien Gauthier and Liam Foody. And having them in the lineup for Bridgeport, if they don't make the Islanders, is going to really help set the tone for Rocky Thompson and really help set the speed of the team and really help the young players develop for the Islanders. I think these are good players to have. More importantly, they're going to be really effective call-ups if the Islanders do need more enforcements, because Islander fans out of any team in the NHL understand that you need more than just your starting lineup. People are going to get hurt, and you're going to need to have people step up. One of the biggest issues with the Islanders last season is when the starters got injured, the players who stepped up really could not compete at the NHL level. As much as I love Matt Martin, when they signed him as a replacement, he just did not have enough juice, in my opinion. I'm really happy now that he's still with the organization in a management role. I think he can do an even better job for the Islanders as in the front office than he did his last season. And I think these players now are going to have a better chance now that Matt Martin is officially gone to potentially have a role in the Islanders' bottom 6. Now, talking about this subject, in addition, Darsh has clarified. We already had clarification from the NHL, but since then, a couple players haven't been qualified. But Mathew Darsh has clarified that he's qualifying all of his RFAs, and this is really good news for the Islanders. That means Mark Gatcomb will also be back with the team. I have a feeling, though, there's going to be a little more negotiation there, especially after the season he had. He might want a one-way contract, where that would basically just mean that even if he's sent down to the AHL, he's still getting paid NHL money. Makes it a little bit more complicated from a cap perspective, but considering the Islanders did move Noah Dobson, I don't think that's going to be an issue anymore. I think they're going to have a decent amount of cap space, at least to keep the roster they already have. When it comes to making a big addition, which I don't think the Islanders are necessarily going to do, I mean, we've talked a little bit about Nikolai Ehlers, but I just don't think that's a fit for this Islanders team the way they are right now. But if something like that happens, then it will get more complicated. But I think as of right now, Mark Gabcom is probably just going to get something a little bit better than his entry-level deal, because since his last deal, he really has taken a step up in terms of his projection as a player. But I really want to focus here on Liam Foody, because he's the one player who I believe deserved a better chance last season for the New York Islanders. You look at his season last year, he only played 2 games for the team, and I thought he was fine. I honestly was a little upset when Liam Foody got sent down and Wahlstrom got the promotion to play in the NHL, because I don't think Wahlstrom deserved those minutes. I think the reason he was there was because the Islanders already had him under contract, so it was easier to keep him and save more money. And in addition, they had drafted him higher and they wanted to see what they could get out of him. But it was clear to me that Wahlstrom didn't have anything really at the NHL level as a fourth liner, while Foody, I feel like, did provide the Islanders some value. And he had a really good season in the AHL, putting up 45 points and, again, what was an abysmal team for the Bridgeport Islanders. I don't think Liam Foody is a franchise-changing player. I don't think he's going to develop to anything much more than he already has shown. He was a first-round pick by Columbus in 2018, but I think it's time to forget about that player. Still, I think this is a player, especially with his speed, that can provide more value on the fourth line or even throughout the lineup. This Islanders team is one that is really lacking speed. And while I do think you can play an effective game in the NHL without having a lot of speed, Patrick Waugh has emphasized that he wants players who skate fast. And the Islanders roster really is lacking a lot of that, so I would not be surprised if Liam Foody gets a bigger opportunity here just because he more fits the player archetype that Patrick Waugh is looking for. And if he does, I really think this is a player who can get meaningful minutes in the NHL, perhaps as far as the third line for the Islanders. I would not be upset to see him in that role if he earns it. And I think the one thing that really excites me about this Islanders training camp coming up is I think every single player is going to have to earn their position. The previous Islanders team, there was a lot of position situations where players like Wahlstrom were just getting seniority and getting positions over other players, even though they didn't earn them. I would love to see Liam Foody challenge players such as Pierre Engvall and Anthony Duclair for their lineup spots, as we're going to talk about, because I think that will be really helpful for the Islanders' future and just really setting the tone of this franchise where you have to earn your ice time. And I really hope that is what Darch has happened in training camp. And for Julien Gauthier, I think he's a really interesting player. I think he's a player who, back when he was on the Rangers, looked like he was one of the better fourth liners in the NHL. However, for the Islanders, it just has not quite worked out yet. He had his first season with the Islanders, he had 9 points in 27 games. He's also a player who struggled to stay healthy, which is really unfortunate. Only played 9 games for the Bridgeport Islanders, and when he played, he had 8 points. So in terms of the Bridgeport Islanders being less horrendous next season, I think Julien Gauthier is going to be an important part of that. He's 27, so he's a bit older than Liam Foody, and again, I don't think I see this huge glove of Julien Gauthier. But if you have injuries, especially in the lower side of the lineup, Julien Gauthier is absolutely a player who can step up, has a really good shot, and has good wheels, at least going back and forth. I would like to see him also commit to a more physical game, and I think it's disappointing at this point that he hasn't done that, especially considering his height, 6'4", weighs 225 pounds, the way he skates. If he would just commit to being a more physical player, I think he could have an effective NHL career, and he's definitely a player to note. I would honestly not be surprised if he does not make the Islanders. He might be a waiver claim, so that's definitely something to keep an eye out, and I'm really interested to hear what you think about Julien Gauthier in the comments below, because when he's played the NHL, he's actually looked relatively good for the Islanders, in my opinion. 5 goals in that first stint. This time he only had one NHL game. Patrick Waugh didn't seem to like him, which really surprised me considering they have like the French-Canadian connection and he plays a speedy game, but it didn't work. We'll see if he gets a bigger opportunity this time. And just looking at this lineup for the Islanders, I really think this is going to be a situation where these players have a chance to earn a position. Looking at this lineup, no one on the bottom 6 really seems like somebody who is going to command their position. Now, Siplikov and Heineman, I know they're currently listed on the 4th line. I fully believe they're going to take those spots on the 3rd line. In addition, you're going to have Callum Ritchie attempting to get a roster spot from the Islanders. I do think he should be given every single opportunity to make the roster, but I don't think he should be given it just because he's a first-round pick. What I've been talking about, this competition, I want every player to earn their spot on the roster, and that goes from the top bottom. I want there to be a full competition. I want Sipilkov to have a chance to make the first line if he beats out players like Lee or Holmstrom. Same with Holmstrom. I want Holmstrom to have a chance to beat out Lee. I want Duclair to earn his minutes and not just get them because he's getting paid $3.5 million. As a result, I think there's a good chance that Liam Foody or Julien Gauthier can force their way into this Islanders opening lineup. And if not, I also think there's opportunities for them to be in the press box this season. Liam Foody is already listed as one of the Islanders extras, so it's a good chance he will be, even if he's not on the everyday roster, he'll be in the NHL and get NHL minutes. Gatcomb, it's interesting here that he's currently not listed on this Islanders roster, especially after that trade getting Emil Heineman from the Montreal Canadiens. This is going to be a really competitive forward group because I really feel like while the Islanders don't have the top-end talent beside Bo Horvat and Matt Barzal, they have a lot of really good complementary pieces, and it's going to be really interesting to see if young guys can beat out guys like Kyle Palmieri. I think that is the best-case scenario for the New York Islanders coming up this season, but we'll see what happens. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Islanders' current forward core and what you think about these players being extended, having a chance to really make this lineup this season. Love to know your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Be sure to subscribe to the channel. My name is Patrick. Catch you on the Patrick Nilan. Catch you on the next episode of Islanders Digest. Let's go, Islanders.